Have you noticed how difficult it's becoming to know what's real? Images look real, voices sound real, information spreads quickly, and most of it feels convincing. And as a mom, this changes something important. The question is no longer just, what is my child learning? It is, will they be able to recognize what's true? I'm Shelley Dalival, a mom, a former healthcare worker, and someone who is learning how to trust the world that my daughter is growing up in. This is the Kali Yuga Compass, a space for moms who want to understand what's happening without fear and without the noise. Technology has always shaped how we live, but what's changing now is how it shapes perception. What we see, what we hear, what we believe can now be influenced in ways that aren't always obvious. So the challenge isn't just information, it's discernment. We don't need to understand every piece of technology to guide our children well, but we do need to understand this. Our children are growing up in an environment where attention is constantly being directed. What holds their focus, and ours for that matter, is not always neutral. It is designed. And over time, that shapes how we think, what we believe, and how we respond to the world. So, our role isn't to control everything, it's to help our children recognize what deserves their attention. I've experienced this myself. I remember seeing a video of Barack Obama speaking, and at first, it looked completely real. The voice, the expressions, the delivery, everything was convincing. But something about it felt slightly off. Not obvious, just enough to make me pause. And later, it turned out it wasn't a real video. It was a deepfake, a digitally altered video and audio that uses artificial intelligence to make Obama appear to say something he never actually did. That was part of a skit by Key and Peele, a famous comedy duo who mix humor with social commentary. This skit was their experiment, their way of telling us about the times we are living in. That moment stayed with me because if I could almost believe something like this, how easy is it for my daughter to accept what she's seeing without questioning it? How easy is it for your children to accept the same? Discernment isn't about doubting everything. It's about pausing long enough to ask, is this accurate? Does this make sense? What am I being shown here? It's a skill, and it doesn't develop automatically. Our children learn it from what they see us do, from how we question things, from what we engage with, and what we choose to step away from. There is a prophecy in biblical text, often referred to as the mark of the beast. In the book of Revelations, Revelation 13, it describes a system where people must receive a mark in order to participate in buying and selling. The exact wordings I've taken from the New King James Version of the Bible are: He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. The mark is described as being placed on the hand or the forehead, which many interpret as symbolic. The forehead represents thought, what you believe, and what you accept as true. And the hand represents action, what you do, how you behave, what you participate in. So, together, this points to something deeper, not just what people think, but how those beliefs are carried out in daily life. Some interpret this symbolically as a kind of alignment between belief and behavior, where what you accept internally starts to shape how you act externally. And over time, that alignment can happen without conscious awareness, which is why this idea still feels relevant today. Because influence doesn't always look like force, it looks like reputation, convenience, normalization, until something becomes accepted without being questioned. Others interpret this biblical verse more literally as a form of identification or technology linked to access and participation in everyday life. In today's world, this is often discussed in connection with digital identity systems, biometric tracking, and even microchip technology. But regardless of interpretation, the core warning is consistent: a system where convenience replaces reflection, where people follow without questioning, not because they are forced, but because it becomes normal. And this is the part that matters, because the real risk is not just external control, it's the loss of our discernment. Discernment begins with noticing. The moment when something feels slightly off, and instead of ignoring it, we pause. For me, one unexpected way of strengthening this has been through lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is becoming aware that you are dreaming while still inside the dream. And what it trains is not control, but awareness. And that awareness gets carried in our everyday life too. When something looks convincing but doesn't fully sit right, that pause is where discernment begins. I'll go deeper into it in the next episode because it's something we can actually build. And one of my goals with this podcast is to help moms train and strengthen their awareness so they can better protect their children. This doesn't need to be complicated. It can look like talking things through with your child instead of accepting everything at face value. Asking simple questions together. Do we know this is true? Where did this come from? Letting them see you think, not just react, because the goal isn't to raise a child who follows everything. It's to raise a child who can think. If discernment is something we want to build, it has to be supported in small, everyday ways. Slow down information intake. Not everything needs your attention. Create space for real world interactions, conversations, nature, and play. Encourage questions, even when you don't have answers. And most importantly, model it. Because children don't learn discernment from instruction, they learn it from what they observe. We are not just raising children in a digital world, we are raising them in a world where perception itself, and as a result, our potential and life path can be shaped. So the focus isn't just protection, it's preparation. To help our children pause, question, and think clearly, because that ability will matter more than we realize. Take a deep breath with me. Inhale, exhale. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to stay aware, because your awareness becomes your children's foundation. I'm Shelly Dalival, and this is the Kali Yuga Compass.